Boat makers around the world have found new and innovative ways to make submersible vehicles, and some of their designs look absolutely awesome. Here are the top 15 most incredible submarines and submersibles. Number 15. Nautilus VAS Luxury Submarine. The team at the US-based Nautilus Submarines and Diving Systems has made a new toy for the millionaires and billionaires in the world to add to their tenders of their mega yachts. And for just $2.7 million, you could be the proud owner of the Nautilus VAS Luxury Submarine. And while the Nautilus certainly serves its purpose as a submarine, it's what's on the inside that really counts. The private luxury submarine has got a full-size staircase instead of a ladder, a mini bar, digital video, standing room on board, music players, even a bathroom. Yeah, this might be the best submarine to get seasick in. But in all seriousness, the Nautilus VAS is truly one of a kind. There's also the diver lockout option, which allows passengers to come in and out as they please without having to dock, even if it's still underwater. So if you're traversing the depths of the 7 seas and find something that may deserve a closer or more subtle examination, then by all means go for it, because the Nautilus VAS will be right there waiting for you. It's pretty amazing stuff. The vessel also comes with a large, flat, distortion-free optic so the passenger can have a crystal clear view of the big blue. It can also travel up to 6 knots and carry up to 5, so you won't have to enjoy the perks of the submerged minibar alone. Number 14. Killer Whale Submarine. Okay, the next entry on this list is kind of awesome as it is silly, but sometimes that makes for the best combination. Killer Whale Submarine. This streamlined submarine is made to carry 2 people and give them an experience of a lifetime. All in all, the Killer Whale Submarine cost about $100 grand, but what it offers is absolutely priceless. It may not be as big as the animal of its namesake, but the vessel cuts through the water almost just as quickly. It's built with dorsal and pectoral fins, which can be controlled by the pilot while they sit underneath an air and watertight half-inch thick acrylic canopy. The Killer Whale Submarine can do all sorts of things like skyhop and porpoise, and can hydroplane up to 50 miles per hour on the water's surface and cruise at 25 miles per hour while submerged. It won't dive as deep as most submarines, with a maximum depth of just 5 feet below the surface, but does it really matter when it can travel that fast? Number 13. Submarine Sports Car. If you've got $2 million laying around, then why not spend all of that money on a brand new sports car and just drive it straight into the ocean? Well, that's what the Submarine Sports Car is made for. The Submarine Sports Car takes a page straight out of the classic James Bond films and lets you live out your super spy fantasy, as long as you bring a breathing tank and some goggles. The manufacturer boasts that it's the only car that can exist both on land and underwater, and can transform with just the push of a button. The Sub Sports Car has propellers at its rear and 2 water jets at the front that allow the driver to both steer under the waves and breach the surface again. It is a completely zero-emissions vehicle with a 54-kilowatt electric motor under the hood and powered by a total of 6 48-volt lithium-ion batteries that, after a 4-hour charge, can last for about 18 miles or about 3 hours underwater. And while that may not be much, it's kind of a steal considering you won't be spending any money on gas. And of course, the car's interior is both waterproof and totally impervious to both fresh water and salt water. There's even an onboard laser-guided sensor that lets the car cruise underwater autonomously so you can enjoy the scenery. Yet, needless to say, we are kind of living in the future. Number 12. Marion Hyper Sub. For anyone looking to live out their ultimate 20,000 leagues under the sea fantasy, then the Marion Hyper Sub is the perfect submarine. The vessel cost about $3.5 million, but once you get past the price point, it's smooth sailing. It's easy to be fooled when you first encounter the Marion Hyper Sub because it starts out as a speedboat zipping across the surface of the ocean and leaving everyone behind in its wake. But if you're lucky enough to get invited on board, you'll see that just after hitting a few switches, it converts into a fully functional submarine. Yet James Bond himself couldn't ask for a better bath toy. This insanely expensive submarine was invented by Reynolds Marion when the United States Navy and Marines were interested in his previous speedboats. He accepted the mission, quickly going to work, and the Hyper Sub is the finished product. The submarine has a fuel capacity of 525 gallons, but burns through that about 34 gallons per hour as it rips through the current at 31 knots. It can dive down to 1,200 feet below the surface and hang out there for about 12 hours, but it also has some emergency capabilities that allow it to stay down there for another 96 hours, making it the perfect post-apocalyptic vessel. To say the least, the Marian Hypersub is science fiction made reality. Number 11. Nomad 1000. With a company name like US Submarines Incorporated, it's pretty easy to figure out what they do all day. But having a level of imagination that they offer is a whole other story. The Nomad 1000 is a private luxury submarine that was designed to look like a fully loaded underwater yacht. And boy, did they manage to do that. For about $6.5 million, prospective buyers can work with the designer for a completely custom job. And at any depth, the cabins remain pressurized, so whoever's on board can feel like they're in a room on the surface at all times. The Nomad 1000 is 116 feet long and comes equipped with 5 staterooms and multiple common areas, and is of course lined with portals to give a guest the perfect underwater view on all sides of the vessel. So while the vessel provides everyone with maximum comfort, it's also a great way to explore the Big Blue in safe and comfortable environment. It can also accommodate up to 30 passengers, so the owner can celebrate their birthday under the sea or just host a casual dinner party with some breathtaking views. The Nomad 1000 has a range of 1,000 nautical miles and can stay submerged for up to 10 days, which is a pretty impressive feat. This private luxury submarine may just be the perfect way to spend a week away from the office if you've got the cash. Number 10. James Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger. Alright, it's no secret that filmmaker James Cameron has got a lot of money just laying around, but he's also a dedicated explorer, which is why he spent $8 million on his submarine, the Deep-Sea Challenger. And while it's an incredibly expensive vessel, this entry on the list is a little less luxurious. Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger was able to descend to depths of well over 35,000 feet. The vessel is less than 4 feet wide and is so jam-packed with equipment that Cameron had to sit with his knees bent and could barely move from the sheer lack of space. It is truly amazing that someone with so much money chose to brave the deep himself instead of paying a deep-sea robot to do it for him. But that's the dedication of a good filmmaker. The Challenger's circuit boards were specially designed just for the vessel and incorporate over 180 systems of things like sonar and batteries and 1,100-pound ballast weights to keep it submerged. And while the bells and whistles of the Challenger may not be as exciting as some of the other entries we've seen so far, it's very easy to see where all that money is gone. Because when you dive as deep as Cameron does, the safety of the pilot becomes far more important than comfort and luxury. But it is clearly worth it, because Cameron used the submarine to set the record for the world's deepest solo dive to the bottom of the Mariana Trench. Number 9. Paul Allen's Yellow Submarine. This next one is the perfect submarine for all those Beatle fans out there. The late great Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, has had his $12 million Yellow Submarine, also known as Pagoo, sitting in the tender of his multi-million-dollar Megayacht. Now, not many people know that Allen was an avid sea explorer, but this 40-foot Yellow Submarine was the perfect vessel for the eccentric billionaire. It can hold up to 10 people, dive for 8 hours at a time, and reach depths of up to 1,000 feet. It can get pretty dark and mysterious down there, but Allen has said that if you just put on some Pink Floyd, it's not so scary anymore. Especially if he's accompanied by 9 of his friends. And of course, the Yellow Submarine has multiple huge glass portholes so everyone inside can feast their eyes on what the ocean hides from us surface dwellers. Since his unfortunate and untimely death, though, the Yellow Submarine was put up for sale and will hopefully be purchased by someone who had as much love for ocean exploration and as much money as he did. Number 8. The Terrible. The biggest, the baddest, and also the most expensive submarine used by any navy in the world is absolutely the Terrible from their Triumphant class. This French mega submarine cost 3.1 billion euros to create. Put the calculator down though, because it's the equivalent to about 4 billion US. It was built in the year 2000, so if you really want to split hairs, you can take inflation into account and kick that price tag up to about 5 billion. It may be a bit on the slower side, but when a submarine is that expensive, it should make a bit of an appearance in the waters. This nuclear ballistic submarine can squeeze in 111 crew members and uses state-of-the-art stealth systems and sonar, which already adds up to millions of dollars. But it can also carry 16 nuclear missiles, 4 torpedo tubes, and anti-ship missiles. It's also powered by a nuclear pressurized water reactor that can run for 25 years without stopping. And coupled with its 2 diesel engines, it's traveling at a top speed of 50 kilometers per hour, and comes in at 14,000 tons. The Terrible gives an all-new meaning to a ton of money. Number 7. Mark 8 Seal. Not all subs are created equal, and the Mark 8 Seal is the perfect example of that. It is a big departure from what most of us are used to seeing as how tiny it is. And even though it may look more like a child's bathtub toy, it is in fact a serious military vehicle. The Mark 8 is specially designed for undersea special operations like direct action, reconnaissance, and the insertion and extraction of Navy SEALs. The Mark 8 Seal is built from aluminum instead of the usual plastic reinforced fiberglass and has a pretty solid endurance of 8 to 12 hours with a range of 18 nautical miles with a full diving team, and then a whopping 36 nautical miles without them on board. And then there's the compressed air on board that can extend the range of a swimmer's own air tank if they found something that needs a little extra investigation. But things get really futuristic with its lithium-ion batteries that power its propulsion, navigation, and communication systems. I guess sometimes the biggest secrets come in the smallest of packages. Number 6. Deep Flight Dragon. Not all dragons take flight. Some of them thrive in the ocean, and some of them are submarines. The Deep Flight Dragon is one of the coolest looking submarines you'll ever see, looking like it came right out of Star Wars. At just 16 feet long, the Deep Flight Dragon is the smallest and most streamlined sub out on the market today, and is the perfect vessel for a two-person expedition. Instead of using a ballast system like your average submarine, which uses water to descend to the depths, the Dragon uses an electric motor, which runs on lithium batteries to fly beneath the waves. But then just how long can it go? Well, try 1,330 feet deep. And like the dragons of its namesake, it really does fly in the water, letting the pilot cut through the ocean like a hot knife through butter. But the best part of this aquatic vehicle is that it runs on lithium batteries. It's also incredibly silent, making it perfect for getting up close and personal with local marine life without scaring them away or harming the ecosystem. And the rotating fans allow it to hover under the surface like a helicopter, so if you want to take a break for a while, you can just stay in one place without having to worry about being carried away by the currents. The Deep Flight Dragon can go for up to 6 hours, but offers such an amazing experience that you'll probably want to be there for a lot longer than that. And because it's so small, it's the perfect little accompaniment to super yachts, so don't be surprised when you see a fleet of Deep Flight Dragons in the water near you in the next 10 years or so. Number 5. Yacht Luxury L1. Another amazing choice when it comes to the world of small personal submarines is none other than the Yacht Luxury L1. A much larger option than some of the other personal subs we've seen, the Yacht Luxury L1 is a whopping 63 feet long. This submarine can dive down about 1,000 feet and is designed with a teardrop shape, which makes it look ultra hydrodynamic. And if you're wondering why the L1 looks even more like a private jet, you should know that the design was intentional. Even the interior looks like that of a private jet. But instead of rolling through the clouds, the folks in here will be rolling through the waves amidst the underwater world. The cockpit is full of all sorts of bells and whistles, and whoever's lucky enough to pilot this personal sub has access to the usual things like radar, forward-looking cameras, sonar, and even night vision for when you want to explore the sea after dark. But that doesn't mean the people in the backseat can't have some fun too, because the vessel is built to offer 6 feet of headroom and can accommodate up to 12 people, meaning you can have an underwater party anytime. The sub is powered by 2 electric motors that allow it to achieve near silence so as not to disturb or disrupt all of the ocean life, and it even allows it to hover. But the coolest feature has got to be the transparent dome in the nose, which lets you look straight down to the ocean floor. And who knows just how many creatures are staring back at you hoping to come inside. Number 4. Proteus. Coming in at $8 million, the Proteus is a submarine designed by ex-French Navy Commando Hervé Joubert. Joubert also served as the CEO of Exomos, a Dubai-based luxury submarine maker, so you know he's got the right credentials to create something both extraordinary and expensive. Joubert set out to design an underwater bus, so his Proteus comes in at a whopping 65 feet long and can carry up to 14 passengers into the ocean's depths. But what makes things even more interesting is that the $8 million Proteus can exist on the ocean's surface as a luxury yacht. Guests can enjoy the sunshine on deck and submerge into the water when they get bored. Also, the Proteus takes its name from the vessel in the story Fantastic Voyage, and it most certainly lives up to that name. Number 3. The Sea Shadow. Even if you are the world's best swimmer, the ocean can still be a scary place. Who knows what's looking up at you from the vast deep when you're in there? The ocean can be full of some unpleasant surprises, and the next entry on our list is no exception. The Sea Shadow sounds like an ancient sea monster, but in reality, it's a stealth submarine made by the hard-working folks over at Lockheed for the United States Army. They wanted to see how a low radar profile could be achieved and to test out high stability configurations for maritime vehicles. So what they gave us was one funky-looking stealth vehicle back in 1984, just in time for Big Brother to become a reality. And if you compare this to their F-117 Nighthawk, it's pretty easy to see the family resemblance. That is, if you can even find the Sea Shadow at all. It's got a completely flat and angular surface that bounces sonar signals away, muffles the sound of the engine, and is even able to silence the noises of the crew inside. And while it's one solid stealth sub, the Sea Shadow was retired in 2006 and then sold and scrapped for parts in 2012. And so while it may not be around today, it still is easily one of the stealthiest vehicles ever. Number 2. Deep Flight Super Falcon Mark II. Deep Flight is a luxury submarine company that offers its clients some of the best underwater experiences money can buy. That's why their Super Falcon Mark II cost $1.7 million. The Deep Flight Super Falcon Mark II may be a mouthful to say, but the name really does say it all. The designer's goal is to provide passengers with an experience as smooth as air flight while they glide almost effortlessly through the oceans. Designed by Graham Hawkes, the vessel has enough room for 2 passengers, with seats enclosed in glass bubbles that provide full 360-degree views of the surroundings. This submarine can reach speeds of up to 6 knots and can reach surprising depths at about 400 feet below the water surface. It's lightweight and pretty nimble, so passengers probably feel more like they're a mermaid than if they're traveling along in a large metal device. But there are plenty of opportunities to see ocean creatures and even divers that may be cruising the area. And while you probably won't be trying to outrun, or in this case outswim, any deep-sea monsters, the Super Falcon Mark II uses an efficient powertrain along with its aquadynamic design to cut right through the water. It's also fully hydrobatic, so think aerobatic but this time underwater. This means that the Super Falcon Mark II uses its 2 wings for stunts like barrel rolls and even underwater loops, and can also maintain a positive buoyancy at all times, so the underwater craft will always float to the surface on its own. Number 1. MIGALOO Submarine Yacht. The term submarine yacht may sound strange, but it all makes sense when you're on board this thing. Carrying a hefty price tag of $2.3 billion, this luxury vessel built for private use starts out as a Megayacht, but things really get interesting when it submerges below the water surface. It's any billionaire's dream toy, this thing. The Megaloo can reach a depth of 1,500 feet and cruise underwater at 20 knots, and is the most expensive privately owned yacht in the world, and it sounds better suited for a Bond villain than it does an everyday person. On the surface, guests can enjoy the pool deck, the bars, the pool, the jacuzzi, and the beach club. But when it's underwater, the vessel's interiors become glass rooms that give you some seriously breathtaking views of the deep ocean, and any fish that you may come across. And when it does function as a submarine, there are still 2 mini-subs sitting in tenders for when the owner needs even more alone time.
Watch our Vehicles playlist for more top 15 videos about amazing vehicles. Sit back, relax, and binge watch all of our best vehicle videos.